The Galactic Council was shocked as Earth's massive railguns tore through their fleet like cannons through toy ships, finally paying them back for thinking the humans were an easy conquest. In a dim, smoke-filled bar on a remote space station, a grizzled old alien veteran named Niran sat hunched over a glowing blue drink. Next to him, a wide-eyed young recruit named Zax gaped at flickering holo-displays showing fierce human soldiers charging into battle. Zax's antennae twitched as he stared at images of human marines storming a Thorgon dreadnought. I thought the rumors about humans were made up. Niran coughed out a harsh chuckle. They're all true, kid, every story. I fought them myself back in the day. Leaning in, Zax fixed Niran with a pleading stare. How did a primitive species from a backwater world take on the Council? Everyone said it was impossible. Niran sighed, dragging a clawed hand down his battle-scarred snout. Because we were fools, arrogant, complacent fools. When the Council first discovered Earth, they thought it'd be an easy conquest. March in, plant a few flags, then add another trophy to their collection. But we underestimated humanity's most powerful weapon. Their guns, their ships. No, Niran growled, his voice rough and low. Their unbreakable spirit. Humans value freedom over everything. They'd rather die on their feet than serve on their knees. So when the Council threatened that freedom, trying to fold them into our galactic community. Niran made air quotes, his tone dripping sarcasm. The humans told them to shove it, and that's when the real war began. Zax shivered, mandibles quivering as he absorbed Niran's words. The old soldier was right. Humanity's refusal had cost the Council thousands of ships and millions of lives. He'd seen the casualty reports. If humans weren't stopped, the Council would crumble. But as Zax watched footage of human fighters chasing Zorban marauders through an asteroid field, he couldn't help but wonder, if humans could bloody the galaxy's nose so badly while outgunned and outnumbered, what would happen when Earth really went to war? Zax's jaw dropped at the revelation. They flat out refused the Council? Are they insane? Nobody does that. He gaped at Niran in disbelief. Niran shook his head, taking another swig of his luminescent beverage. Oh, they did. Council was pissed as hell. First thing they did was cut Earth off. No more trade, no more travel, nothing. Thought they could bring the humans to their knees that way. A wry grin spread across the veteran's face. But humans are a crafty bunch. They buckled down, rolled up their sleeves and got to work. Built up their own mines, factories, farms. Hell, they even started cooking up fancy new tech, stuff we'd never seen. Wait, seriously? They managed all that on their own? Zax leaned forward, hanging on Niran's every word. Damn right they did. Council about shit itself when they realized. In just 10 short years, Earth's economy was going toe-to-toe with the biggest players in the galaxy. Niran let out a low whistle of appreciation. His expression darkened. Of course, Council couldn't let that stand. They assembled a blockade, parked their ships in orbit around Earth, tried to choke off the human supplies, bring them to heel. Zax's antennae quivered with anticipation. And then what? What did the humans do? Niran smirked, a glimmer of respect in his battle-weary eyes. They broke out a new toy, something nobody had even dreamed of. A real game-changer. Leaning back, Niran savored the suspense for a moment. An EMP cannon. One shot from that beast and the Council's fancy ships were nothing but floating scrap metal. Shields, weapons, engines, all fried in an instant. Zax gaped at Niran, his mandibles slack. A weapon that can fry an entire fleet just like that? He snapped his fingers for emphasis. Niran nodded, his eyes distant as he recalled the events. Aye, those Council ships hung dead in space, not a single system still running. Shields, weapons, engines, all of it useless. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. But the humans didn't stop there. They launched surgical strikes on the command vessels, picked them off one by one, leaving the rest of the fleet in chaos. Zax shook his head in disbelief. They crippled the whole armada with a single shot. They sure did, Niran confirmed, a note of grudging respect in his tone. Council had no choice but to turn tail and run, but the humans weren't finished. He took a long pull from his drink, savoring the burn. Earth sent the Council an ultimatum. Lift the sanctions and acknowledge human sovereignty, or else. Zax's eyes widened, and the Council actually listened. Niran barked a laugh. They were still licking their wounds from the thrashing they'd received. Didn't have much choice, did they? Zax sat back, stunned. I can't believe it. A single species standing up to the Council and winning. Oh, that's just the beginning, Niran chuckled darkly. Earth's victory sent tremors across the galaxy, made other races start wondering if the Council was really as tough as they claimed. He leaned in, his voice low and intense. Some even started getting ideas about breaking away from Council rule altogether. Rebellions began cropping up left and right. Zax smacks the table in surprise, his drink sloshing over the rim of his glass. What? They invited the humans to join the Council, as equals. He stares at Niran in disbelief, searching the old veteran's face for any hint of a joke. Niran nods, his expression deadly serious. I couldn't believe it either, but that's exactly what happened. He drains the last of his glowing blue drink, slamming the empty glass on the table. The Council realized that the humans were a force to be reckoned with. They had technology, resources, and a spirit that couldn't be broken. So instead of fighting them, the Council decided to bring them into the fold. Zax shakes his head, still trying to wrap his mind around the idea. But how did the other races react? Surely they weren't happy about a newcomer being given a seat at the table. Niran chuckles, a low rumbling sound deep in his throat. Oh, there were plenty of objections. Some of the more established races thought the humans were getting special treatment. They argued that Earth should have to prove itself, just like everyone else. He leans forward, his eyes gleaming with mischief. But the humans had an ace up their sleeve. Remember that grand tour they gave the Council delegates? Well, it turns out that the humans had been recording everything. Every conversation, every reaction, every little detail. Zax's eyes widen as realization dawns. They used the footage to sway the other races. Niran grins, showing a mouthful of sharp teeth. Exactly. The humans released the recordings to the galactic media, showing the delegates glowing praise of Earth and its people. They even included some choice moments of the delegates criticizing the Council's handling of the situation. He sits back, crossing his arms over his chest. It was a masterstroke. The other races saw the delegates' reactions and started to question their own assumptions about the humans. Some even began to see Earth as a potential ally against the Council's tyranny. Zax whistles softly, impressed by the humans' cunning. So what happened next? Did the Council actually follow through on their invitation? Niran nods, his expression turning serious once again. They did. The humans sent a delegation of their own to the Council's headquarters, ready to take their place as equals. He pauses, his eyes distant as he remembers the momentous occasion. I was there, you know. I saw the human delegation arrive, striding into the Council chamber like they owned the place. They were a sight to behold, all confidence and determination. You could feel the energy in the room shift as they took their seats. Zax leans forward, hanging on Niran's every word. And then what? Did the Council actually treat them as equals? Niran's mouth twists into a wry smile. Not at first. Some of the other races tried to put the humans in their place, talking down to them like they were children, but the humans didn't take that shit lying down. He chuckles, shaking his head at the memory. They stood their ground, arguing their case with a passion and eloquence that left the other races stunned. They made it clear that they were there to stay, and that they wouldn't be pushed around by anyone. Zax nods slowly, a newfound respect for the humans growing in his chest. So that's how they did it. They didn't just win a battle, they won the whole damn war. Niran grins, raising his empty glass in a toast. Damn right they did. And now the galaxy will never be the same. Zax sits back in his chair, his mind reeling with the implications of Niran's story. He had always thought of the humans as a primitive, backward species, barely worth noticing. But now he realizes just how wrong he had been. The humans had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, a species with the strength, intelligence, and determination to stand up to the most powerful forces in the galaxy. And as Zax looks around the bar, seeing the other patrons watching the news feeds with a mixture of awe and fear, he knows that he is not the only one who has come to this realization. Zax stares at Niran with bulging eyes, antennae quivering. Hold on. The council, they actually invited the humans to join, as equals. He shakes his head in disbelief, mandibles clicking. Niran rumbles a chuckle deep in his scarred throat. Yep, sure did. Shocked the hell out of everyone, but the humans earned that seat at the table. No question. He slugs back a gulp of glowing liquor, wiping his mouth with the back of a gnarled hand. Council even asked Earth to share that EMP cannon tech. Galaxy held its breath, waiting for the humans' response. Niran's yellow eyes glint. Plenty figured they'd tell the Council to shove it where the stars don't shine. Keep their edge to themselves, you know. Zax leans forward, hanging on Niran's every gravelly word. So what did they do, the humans? A slow grin spreads across Niran's craggy face. They agreed, on one condition. He holds up a clawed finger. Council had to pass new laws, ones ensuring fair treatment for all species, great and small, no more throwing around weight and might. Niran sits back, armor creaking. Council saw the sense in it. The humans' terms, perfectly reasonable, so they said yes, and the EMP cannon specs went out to every member world. Zax's eyes go distant, absorbing the magnitude of the decision. A new era, he breathes, led by the humans. I never saw that coming. Council didn't either, Niran snorts. Humans kept surprising them, first with their spirit, then their smarts. Never bet against human ingenuity, kid. It'll bite you in the ass every time. Zax shakes his head, a new respect dawning in his gaze. To think, an upstart species from the galactic rim turning it all upside down, and after the Council tried to conquer them. Humans never did what anyone expected, Niran says, wagging a finger. They're contrary like that, stubborn, independent. It's what makes them so damn dangerous. His eyes bore into Zax, driving the lesson home. The Council, the Thorgans, the Zorbans, they all underestimated humanity, thought they could be cowed or controlled. A rumbling scoff. But the humans fought, defied, rose up and changed it all, rewrote the rules of the game. Niran drains his glass, slamming it down. So here's some advice from one old soldier to a young one. Never assume you've got the humans figured out. The second you do, he chuckles darkly, that's when they'll fly in and blast your entire worldview apart, and make you thank 'em for it after. Zax swallows hard, nodding. The future looks very different now with humanity ascendant. As the bar patrons cheer and images of human diplomats shaking hands with the Council, Zax wonders what other shocks are in store. Because if there's one thing he's learned, the universe belongs to the humans now, and it's never going to be the same. Zax scratches his chin, mulling over Niran's words. He frowns, leaning back in his chair. So let me get this straight. These free worlds types, they didn't much care for the humans muscling in on their turf, huh? Thought Earth was going to cramp their style? Niran nods, signaling the bartender for another round. Got it in one, kid. See, before the humans came along, the rebel worlds were the biggest thorns in the Council's side. They liked being the only game in town when it came to thumbing their nose at the big boys. The veteran's eyes glint as he continues, but suddenly here come these upstart Terrans, not only standing up to the Council, but actually joining forces with them. The Free Worlds crowd, they saw the writing on the wall, figured they'd better band together, present a united front before the humans and the Council decided to pacify their little rebellion. Zax drums his fingers on the table, piecing it together. And that's how the Free Worlds Alliance was born, as a way to push back against human and Council influence. Now you're getting it, Niran chuckles. The Alliance, they started rallying their forces, gearing up for a fight, wasn't just a ragtag bunch of malcontents anymore. They were a real honest-to-stars military power, spoiling to take on the Council and knock humanity down a peg. Niran leans forward conspiratorially. Council higher-ups were sweating bullets, let me tell you. They'd just put out one fire with the humans, and now here was another one sparking up. so they turned to their new buddies from Earth, hoping they could pull another rabbit out of their hat. Zax's antennae quiver with anticipation. And? What did the humans do? Don't leave me hanging, old-timer. A slow grin spreads across Niran's craggy features. Oh, they got creative, all right. See, the council, they were all set to go in guns blazing, teach the Alliance a lesson. But the humans? They had a different approach in mind. The veteran snorts, shaking his head. Damnedest thing I ever saw. Instead of mobilizing the fleet and charging in, the Terrans invited the Alliance to the table, offered to break bread, hash things out all civilized-like. Zax's mandibles drop open in shock. They wanted to negotiate with a bunch of armed rebels. Were they insane? Niran throws his head back and laughs. Ha! That's what the Council thought too, but the humans, they had a plan. See, they offered to share some of their tech with the Alliance worlds, help them boost their economies, raise their standard of living. All they asked in return was that the rebels agree to play by the same rules as everyone else. The veteran takes a swig of his drink, eyeing Zax over the rim of the glass. Damn clever move, if you ask me. The humans were betting that the Alliance worlds, deep down, just wanted a fair shake, a chance to stand on their own 2 feet without the Council breathing down their necks. Zax's eyes widen as realization dawns. And it worked, didn't it? The free worlds, they went for it. Niran smirks, setting his glass down with a thunk. Most of them, yeah, the humans guessed right. A lot of those worlds, they were just tired of scraping by on the galactic fringe. The offer of a helping hand, a seat at the table, too good to pass up. The old soldier shrugs. Oh, sure, there were a few diehards who refused to deal, but without the rest of the Alliance backing their play, they folded pretty quick. The humans had done it again, taken a powder keg situation and defused it without firing a shot. Zax shakes his head in wonder, trying to wrap his mind around it all. The humans' approach was so alien, so utterly contrary to the way the galaxy usually worked, but he couldn't deny the results. Niran watches the young soldier, a knowing glint in his eye. See, kid, that's the thing about humans. They never do what you expect. They're always looking for another angle, a better way forward, and 9 times out of 10, they find it. The veteran raises his glass in a silent toast. The Council, the Alliance, the whole damn galaxy, we could learn a thing or two from those crazy Terrans. They've got a knack for turning enemies into allies, for finding common ground where no one else even thought to look. Zax nods slowly, absorbing the weight of Niran's words. He'd always thought of humans as just another species, one among many, but now he was starting to see them in a whole new light. They weren't conquerors or tyrants, seeking to dominate through force of arms. They were something else entirely, a force for change, for progress, for a better way of doing things, and the galaxy, it seemed, would never be the same because of it. As the 2 soldiers sit in silence, contemplating the future, the bar's holoscreens flicker with images of human diplomats shaking hands with Alliance leaders, ushering in a new era of cooperation and prosperity. Zax frowns, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. The Draconis joined up just like that, after attacking a human colony. He shakes his head, antennae twitching. Doesn't seem right. Figured they'd put up more of a fight. Niran chuckles, the sound like gravel in his throat. Oh, they wanted to, believe me. Their warlord was spitting mad, ready to throw down. But the humans had him by the short hairs, and they knew it. Leaning forward, Niran lowers his voice. See, when that surprise attack failed, the Draconis realized they were in deep shit. The humans' new shields turned their weapons into scrap. And that was just one colony. The veteran takes a swig, wiping his mouth. If the humans shared that tech with the Council, the Draconis would be neutered, claws clipped and teeth pulled. They'd be a joke. Zax nods slowly. So they swallowed their pride and played ball, joined the galactic community to save their own scaly hides. Got it in one, kid, Niran says. The Draconis are a ruthless bunch, but they ain't stupid. They know when they're beaten. The old soldier grins. Course it wasn't all sunshine and roses after that. Integrating the Draconis was a bitch and a half. Centuries of living by the sword made 'em ornery as hell. Zax cocks his head. How'd the humans handle that? Must have been like herding Rax cats. Niran laughs, slapping the table. They started at the top. Invited the Draconis leadership to Earth for a series of cultural exchanges. Showed them the sights, wined and dined them, the whole 9 yards. Leaning back, Niran shakes his head. But the real masterstroke? The humans brought in their historians, had them give the Draconis a crash course in human history. All the wars, the atrocities, the cycles of violence and oppression. Zax blinks. They showed the Draconis their dark side. Why? Niran smirks. To prove they understood. To show the Draconis that humans knew damn well how hard it was to break free from a brutal past. That they weren't judging, just offering a helping hand. Damn, Zax breathes. That's genius. Must have been humbling for the Draconis leadership to see they weren't so different after all. Exactly, Niran says. It opened their eyes, made them realize that if the humans could change, could build something better, then maybe the Draconis could too. The veteran's gaze turns distant. It wasn't easy. There was plenty of pushback from the hardliners, but bit by bit, the Draconis started to come around, started to see the value in cooperation, in setting aside old grudges. Zax leans forward, captivated. And now, how are they doing? A slow smile spreads across Niran's craggy face. They're some of the Council's staunchest allies. Oh, they're still fierce as hell. You don't want to mess with a Draconis warrior. But now they fight for something greater than just their own glory. The old soldier raises his glass in salute. The humans gave them that. A purpose beyond themselves. A chance to be part of something bigger. He chuckles softly. Guess that's just what humans do. They change you, whether you like it or not. Zax sits back, mind reeling. The Draconis, transformed from fearsome conquerors to stalwart defenders of the galactic peace, all because of the humans and their unshakable belief in a better way. It's a lot to wrap his head around. But as Zax looks at Niran, sees the respect and admiration shining in the veteran's eyes, he starts to understand. The humans are more than just another species. They're a force of nature, a catalyst for change on a galactic scale. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the universe needs. Niran drains his glass, setting it down with a thunk. Of course, not everyone was thrilled about the Draconis joining the Council. Some folks had long memories, held onto their grudges like prized possessions. Zax cocks his head, antennae quivering. Let me guess, the Zorbans? They never did get along with the Draconis. A wry chuckle escapes Niran's throat. Got it in one, kid. The Zorbans pitched a fit when they heard the news, threatened to pull out of the Council entirely. Leaning forward, Niran lowers his voice conspiratorially. They even sent a delegation to Earth demanding the humans renege on their deal with the Draconis, claimed it was a betrayal of the Council's principles. Zax's eyes widen. They tried to strong-arm the humans. That's ballsy even for the Zorbans. Niran grins, his teeth flashing in the dim light of the bar. Oh, they tried. But the humans weren't having it. They politely but firmly told the Zorbans to pound sand, said that the Draconis had earned their place on the Council fair and square. Shaking his head, Niran takes another swig of his drink. The Zorbans were livid. They stormed out of the meeting, vowing revenge. Everyone thought that was the end of it. A mischievous glint enters the old soldier's eye. But the humans, they had a plan, they always do. Zax leans in, hanging on Niran's every word. What did they do? Niran smirks. They invited the Zorban leadership to a summit, along with the Draconis and the Thorgans, the Belknax, and every other species that had a beef with each other. Zax's mandibles drop open. They got them all in the same room without bloodshed? How? By appealing to their egos, Niran says, tapping the side of his head. The humans told them it was a chance to air their grievances, to hash things out like civilized beings, and that if they couldn't, well, maybe they weren't ready for the galactic stage after all. Understanding dawns in Zax's eyes. They challenged them, made it a matter of pride. Niran nods, satisfied. Exactly, and it worked like a charm. Oh, there was plenty of posturing and chest-thumping at first, But the humans, they just sat back and let them go at it. Let them get it all out of their systems. Leaning back, Niran crosses his arms. And then, when they were all tuckered out, the humans stepped in. They started talking about the future, about the challenges the galaxy faced, and how we'd all have to work together to overcome them. Zack shakes his head in wonder. They appealed to their better natures, made them see the bigger picture. Bingo, Niran says. The humans, they have a way of doing that, of getting folks to look beyond their own petty squabbles and see the common good. He sighs, his expression turning contemplative. It wasn't a quick fix, mind you. There was still plenty of bad blood to work through. But that summit, it was a start, a first step on the long road to reconciliation. Zax nods, absorbing the weight of Niran's words. And now, how are things between the species? A slow smile spreads across Niran's face. Better than they've ever been. Oh sure, there are still flare-ups from time to time. Old habits die hard, after all. But on the whole, the galaxy's a more peaceful place these days. He raises his glass in a silent toast. And we have the humans to thank for it. Their stubborn refusal to let us wallow in our own pettiness, their unwavering belief that we can be better, do better, if we just try. Zack sits back, his mind whirling with the implications. The humans, through sheer force of will and unshakable idealism, have reshaped the very fabric of galactic society, and they're not done yet. As he looks around the bar, sees the myriad species mingling and laughing together, Zax can't help but feel a swell of hope. Maybe the old soldier is right. Maybe the humans really are the key to a brighter future. A future where all beings, regardless of their past, can come together in the spirit of unity and progress. And isn't that a beautiful thing? But even as the thought crosses Zax's mind, a flicker of unease stirs in his gut. The humans have accomplished so much, changed so many lives for the better. But what happens when they inevitably butt heads with a force that won't be swayed by diplomacy or appeals to reason? What happens when the unstoppable force of human idealism meets the immovable object of a truly implacable foe? Zax has a sinking feeling that he might just find out. And he's not sure if the galaxy is ready for the fallout. Zax leans back, his mind reeling from the revelation. The humans, the galaxy's saviors, had simply walked away. It defied belief. But what about all the progress they made? The alliances they forged? The technologies they shared? They just abandoned it all? Niran sighs, swirling the glowing liquid in his glass. They saw it as a necessary sacrifice. The humans knew their presence had become a destabilizing force, a catalyst for conflict and resentment. They believed that by removing themselves from the equation, they could give the galaxy a chance to find its own balance. Zax frowns, his mandibles twitching. But didn't they realize the void they would leave behind? The power struggles that would inevitably follow? Oh, they knew, Niran says, his voice grave. But they also knew that the galaxy had to learn to stand on its own, to solve its own problems. The humans couldn't be the galaxy's crutch forever. Zax shakes his head, trying to wrap his mind around the implications. So what happened after they left? Did the council hold together? Niran barks a harsh laugh. Hardly. Without the humans to keep everyone in line, old rivalries and grudges bubbled back to the surface. The council fractured, splitting into rival factions vying for power and influence. Leaning forward, Niran fixes Zax with a piercing stare. But that's not the worst of it. With the humans gone, some species saw an opportunity to settle old scores, to take back what they felt was rightfully theirs. Zax's eyes widen, a chill running down his spine. You mean war? Niran nods, his expression grim. The galaxy descended into chaos. Alliances shifted, borders were redrawn, and entire systems changed hands as the fires of conflict spread unchecked. He takes a long pull from his drink, his eyes distant. It was a dark time, kid. A time of bloodshed and suffering on a scale unseen since the days before the council. A time when it seemed like the galaxy itself was tearing itself apart. Zax swallows hard, his throat suddenly dry. But surely someone stepped in, tried to restore order. Niran shrugs. There were attempts, sure, but without the humans' moral authority and technological edge, they all fell short. The warring factions were too entrenched, too committed to their own agendas to listen to reason. He leans back, his armor creaking. Some even whispered that the humans had planned it all along, that they had deliberately destabilized the galaxy so they could swoop back in and take control when the time was right. Zax's antennae twitch with unease. You don't believe that, do you? Niran is silent for a long moment, his gaze inscrutable. No, he says at last, his voice heavy. I don't. Whatever else they may be, the humans are not conquerors. They proved that when they walked away from power, from the chance to rule the galaxy unopposed. He drains his glass, setting it down with a thunk. But that doesn't change the reality on the ground. The galaxy is still in turmoil, still reeling from the humans' absence. And there's no telling when or if the wounds they left behind will ever truly heal. Zax nods slowly, a sense of foreboding settling in his gut. The humans, it seems, had been both the galaxy's salvation and its undoing, and now, with them gone, the future looks more uncertain than ever. As he sits in the dimly lit bar, listening to the distant sounds of ships and the murmur of a dozen alien tongues, Zax can't help but wonder. Zax sits back in his chair, his mind reeling as he tries to process everything Niran has told him. The idea that the humans' departure could have actually been a good thing, that it could have forced the galaxy to grow and change in ways it never would have otherwise, is almost too much to comprehend. He looks up at Niran, his eyes wide with wonder. But how did they do it? How did the Council and the Alliance and the Draconis all learn to work together after so many years of fighting and mistrust? Niran chuckles, his eyes twinkling with amusement. It wasn't easy, that's for sure. There were a lot of long, painful negotiations, a lot of old grudges and resentments that had to be worked through, but bit by bit, they found common ground. He leans forward, his voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. You know what the turning point was? The Zorbans. They were one of the most stubborn holdouts, refusing to even come to the negotiating table. But then something strange happened. Zax's antennae twitch with curiosity. What happened? Niran grins. A delegation of Draconis diplomats showed up on their doorstep, bearing gifts and an invitation to talk. Apparently the Draconis had taken the humans' lessons to heart and were determined to make amends for their past aggression. He shakes his head, still marveling at the memory. The Zorbans were shocked. They had no idea what to make of it. But the Draconis were persistent, and eventually the Zorbans agreed to come to the table. Zax's eyes widen in disbelief, and that was it. That was all it took. Niran laughs. Oh, there were still plenty of bumps in the road after that. But that one gesture, that one act of goodwill from a former enemy, it changed everything. It showed that change was possible, that old wounds could be healed if people were willing to try. He sits back in his chair, a look of contentment on his face. And from there, well, things just sort of snowballed. More and more species started coming together, finding ways to cooperate and collaborate. It was like a dam had burst, and all this pent-up desire for peace and unity just came flooding out. Zax nods slowly, trying to imagine what that must have been like. And the Council, how did they handle all of this? Niran smiles. They adapted. They had to. With so many new voices at the table, they couldn't just keep doing things the way they always had. They had to learn to listen, to compromise, to find solutions that worked for everyone. He chuckles softly. It was a big change for them, I can tell you that. But they rose to the challenge, and now, well, you've seen how things are. The Council is more representative than it's ever been, with every species having a say in the decisions that affect them. Zax sits back in his chair, his mind buzzing with new ideas and possibilities. He had always thought of the Council as this monolithic entity, unchanging and unassailable. But now he can see that it's so much more than that. It's a living, breathing thing, constantly evolving and growing just like the galaxy itself. And at the heart of it all, the guiding force behind everything, are the ideals and values that the humans left behind. Their belief in equality, in fairness, in the power of cooperation and understanding. Zax looks up at Niran, a new respect shining in his eyes. "I never realized," he says softly. "I never knew how much the humans had changed things, even after they were gone." Niran nods, a gentle smile on his face. "That's the thing about legacy, kid. It's not always something you can see or touch, but it's there, shaping everything around us, even if we don't always realize it." He reaches out and claps Zax on the shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. "And that's why it's so important for folks like you and me to remember, to carry on the humans' legacy, in whatever way we can, to keep fighting for a better galaxy, a more just and peaceful galaxy, no matter what." Zax nods, feeling a new sense of purpose welling up inside him. He may just be one small soldier, one tiny cog in the vast machinery of the galaxy, but he knows now that he has a part to play, a role to fulfill in the great unfolding story of the universe. And with the humans' example to guide him, with their spirit and their courage and their unshakable belief in a better tomorrow, he knows that he can face whatever challenges lie ahead, that he can be a force for change, for progress, for hope. Just like the humans were, and just like the galaxy itself, forever changed by their presence, forever striving towards a brighter future, one step at a time. Zax leans forward, his eyes shining with a new fire. "Tell me more," he says eagerly. "Tell me everything you know about the humans' legacy. I want to learn, I want to understand." Niran grins, settling back in his chair and signaling for another round of drinks. "All right, kid, strap in, this is going to be a long night." And as the two soldiers sit there in the dimly lit bar, swapping stories and memories and dreams for the future, the galaxy spins on around them, a vast and wondrous tapestry woven from the countless threads of history and hope. Our galaxy forever changed by the humans, and forever grateful for the gifts they left behind. Zax leans back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You know, it's funny. I always thought the humans were just another species, no different from the rest of us. But now I see that they were something special, something unique." Niran nods, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "They were, and that's why their loss was so tragic." Zax's antennae twitch with surprise. "Their loss, what do you mean?" Niran sighs, his gaze distant. A few centuries after the humans left the galactic stage, a great calamity befell their homeworld. Zax sits forward, antennae quivering. "What happened?" Niran takes a deep breath. A massive asteroid, undetected by their early warning systems, struck the Earth with devastating force. The impact triggered a global cataclysm, wiping out most of the human population and rendering the planet uninhabitable. Zax's eyes widen in shock, his mandibles slack. "That's terrible. Did anyone survive?" Niran shakes his head grimly. "A few scattered colonies, perhaps, but they were cut off from the rest of the galaxy, their technology and resources limited. Over time, they dwindled and disappeared, until the humans were nothing more than a memory." Zax slumps back in his seat, his carapace suddenly feeling heavy. "I can't believe it. They're really gone, all of them." "As far as we know," Niran says softly. "When the Council learned of the humans' fate, they were devastated. They mourned the loss of their greatest allies and friends, and vowed to honor their memory by upholding the principles they had fought so hard to establish." Niran looks up at Zax, his expression serious. "And that's why we're here today, my young friend. To remember the humans, to celebrate their achievements, and to ensure that their legacy endures, even in their absence." Zax nods, a lump forming in his throat. "I understand now. The humans may be gone, but their spirit lives on in us, in the galaxy they helped to shape." Niran smiles, a hint of pride in his voice. "Indeed it does. And as long as we remember them, as long as we strive to be the best versions of ourselves, the humans will never truly be gone. They will live on, in our hearts and in our minds, forever." With that, Niran raises his glass in a final toast. To the humans, the greatest species the galaxy has ever known, may their memory endure, and may their legacy inspire us for generations to come. Zax raises his own glass, joining in the toast. To the humans, he echoes, his voice filled with reverence and respect. The two aliens clink glasses, the sound ringing out in the dimly lit bar. Around them, the space station bustles with life, a microcosm of the thriving galactic community the humans helped build. But even amidst the chatter and laughter, Zax can feel the weight of Niran's words, the bittersweet truth of the human's fate. It's a heavy burden, knowing that the species he admires most is gone forever. And yet as he looks around at the vibrant tapestry of alien life, at the bonds of friendship and cooperation that tie the galaxy together, Zax can't help but feel a flicker of hope. The humans may be gone, but their spirit endures, a guiding light for all who come after. It's a legacy worth fighting for, Zax realizes, a legacy of courage, compassion, and unyielding belief in a better tomorrow. And as long as there are those who remember, who carry the flame of human idealism in their hearts, that legacy will never fade. Zax sets down his glass, a new sense of purpose kindling in his chest. He looks up at Niran, his eyes alight with determination. If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.